Hi guys, this is Miss Wills here, and today we're going to be focusing on Act 5, Scene 4 of Macbeth. Now, before we actually look at Act 5, Scene 4, I'd like you to think back to Act 4, Scene 1. This is the scene where Macbeth goes to visit the witches for the second time, and they show him the apparitions. Now, I would like you, firstly, to pause this recording and to fill in the blanks of the quotation at the bottom of the screen, please. Okay, so here's the full quote here. So this is when the witches tell Macbeth that basically you're fine until Birnam Wood comes to hide Dunsinane. So at this point, Macbeth goes to see the witches because his anxieties are kind of getting the better of him. He's very anxious about how secure he is on the throne, but also, about the threats to his reign. He kind of sees them coming from all different directions, and he needs to be reassured. He needs some sense of security. So he visits the witches. Now, I'd like you to think back and just remind yourself, how does Macbeth actually feel after hearing what the witches have to say? Does it change his mindset at all? How does he respond? So I'd just like you to pause this recording to get your ideas down. Okay, so this is how Macbeth responds. He says, "That will never be. Who can impress the forest?" So arguably here, the witch's prophecy gives him a false sense of security. It gives him hope, it gives him confidence, because he believes, well, that can't ever happen. He's quite certain as well. And, it's kind of relieving him of some of his anxieties in a way. And the witch's words appear to make him more confident than he previously was. So that's kind of the change in him here. But it is interesting here to note that he kind of now, where at the beginning when he first met the witches, he's very dubious to believe them. He was wary, he saw them as evil. Now he not only believes them, but he relies on their prophecies and their words to give him a sense of security, to relieve him of anxieties. And that kind of shows us that the witches have an even bigger have a larger influence and a larger amount of control over him, and not even just his actions but also his mental state and emotions now, which is really dangerous. Having said that, yes, he kind of appears more confident, but the witches also kind of play with his emotions a little bit, because although they make him feel confident, they also tell him he needs to be wary of Macduff, and they show him the line of Banquo. So they're really giving him mixed messages there, but I think overall, Macbeth kind of feels a sense of invincibility, because he's kind of thinking, well, if no man or woman can kill me, then I'm kind of all right. So we'll see how that changes as the play continues. Now, Act 5, Scene 4 is what we're focusing on today. And what I'd like you to do is to pause this recording and watch the clip first. And I'd like you to think about, as you're watching and reading along, what do we find out about the witch's prophecy in this scene? Okay, so just a quick summary of this scene. So the English and Scottish armies under leadership of Malcolm meet at Birnam Wood, and Malcolm orders the soldiers to cut the branches and to carry them in front of them as a form of disguise as they approach Dunsinane. Now, of course, the fact that they're cutting down the wood of Birnam is really, really significant. I would like you to write down answers to these questions in your notes, please. What do the audience realise at this point? And what do we call it when the audience knows something the characters on stage do not? What impact does it have as well? So I would like you to pause this recording and get your ideas down. Okay, so here are some ideas. We obviously know now that Macbeth will meet his end. We are aware at this point that what has been prophesied is starting to come true, and everything that the witches have said previously has come true. So it's not looking good for Macbeth. Of course, the device I'm looking for there is dramatic irony. When we know something about that's going to be happening, the characters on stage do not. Macbeth does not know this is coming at the moment, but we do. Why has Shakespeare done this? Well, of course, it's possibly so that we kind of feel a bit of sympathy for Macbeth again, as we know he is doomed, so he returns to kind of like this tragic hero here. Okay, so Siward calls Macbeth the confident tyrant. Now, I want you to consider this idea of him being confident. Do you think Macbeth is a confident tyrant? Do you think he is confident at this point? If so, why and how has he changed from the beginning of the play? So I'd like you to pause this recording again, please, and to get your ideas down. Okay, just some ideas here. I think Macbeth does appear to be more confident now. I think what the witches have said to him have given him a sense of comfort and security, and I think he thinks he's a bit invincible, doesn't he? Especially after this meeting with the witches. And in Act 5, Scene 3, he does declare, "The mind I swear by and the heart I bear shall never sag with doubt nor shake with fear." You know, all these fears and troubles that he had before are kind of disappearing a little bit. He seems a bit more solid and stronger in the mind now that he spoke to the witches, and he does seem a lot more confident in what he's doing. And this does contrast to earlier in the play when he killed King Duncan, for example. He was afraid to think what he'd done. And when he sees Bangor's ghost, that kind of symbolizes and echoes his fears of what he's done. And when he also says his mind is full of scorpions, it's not very stable. So we do have that comparison there. So we have the scared and confused Macbeth at the beginning of the play, and the very confident tyrant now, as Siward describes him as. Now I'd like you to pause this recording and jot down some responses to these questions. Which Macbeth would an audience sympathise with more, do you think, and why? And which Macbeth would, that should say, an audience respect more and why? So I'd like you to just pause this recording and just write down your thoughts and ideas, please. Okay, final thing I want us to think about. So the soldiers, they plan to use the forest as a disguise. Okay, so it's all about deceiving Macbeth, using a disguise to approach the castle. Now, this idea of disguise, of wearing a disguise, is a big theme throughout the play. But I would like you to think about, and again, pause this recording and jot down your ideas, where else in the play have characters used disguise and deception against their enemies, perhaps? So please pause this recording and get some ideas down. Okay, just some ideas, some things that you may have come up with. So we've got these quotes here when Lady Macbeth says, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it." And when she tells Macbeth to wash your hands, put on your nightgown, look not so pale. And of course, Macbeth, when he says, "Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires," as well. And false face must hide what false heart doth know. So we've got that theme of disguise and deception still running throughout the play there. So the final thing I would like you to do is just write a little paragraph summarizing your ideas about this scene. So it's a very short scene, but it is important as well. Now, summarize your ideas in a paragraph, including quotations as well, and I'd like you to discuss about how it builds tension, whether or not it makes us pity Macbeth now, given what we know, and does it increase in dramatic irony, and what is the effect of this as well. So I'd like you just to consider all of these things and just summarize the importance of this scene in a paragraph for me. Thank you very much for listening, and if you do have any questions, please do email your teacher. Thank you.